Hello guys, it's Dan. Welcome back. So, if you're asking the question, am I an alcoholic? I think possibly that's the wrong question because you're obviously here for a reason. There's obviously a reason why you've been tapping away at that question on the internet and you stumbled across this video. So, I think the real question is, are you in control? Because there is a massive grey zone between chemical dependency and problem drinking. And basically, that's where most people get stuck in this kind of grey zone. And a lot of people, myself included, they tend to kind of stretch this period out far longer than it needs to be. What you don't want to do is get to a point where it becomes too late and you kind of enter that tipping point, chemical dependency. And what's important is to understand where you are on that spectrum and that you don't miss the window to actually change it. If you're new here, my name's Dan Hunter. I stopped drinking in 2017 and I spent years getting a handle on it, and I have devised this program, the Clear Mind, Clear Life program, to help problem drinkers to get control of their drinking and quit if they want to, just before they get to that kind of chemical dependency place. Now, I didn't hit kind of rock bottom per se. I wasn't living under a bridge. I wasn't injecting heroin. I'm probably much like you, a professional person that just struggled with their drinking and couldn't see any way out of it. That's where I'm coming from with these videos. It's for people that maybe have that kind of outward trappings of kind of success in a normal life, but maybe internally they're struggling, and behind closed doors they're maybe drinking a lot more than they should be doing. Because that was me. I had a successful business, doing very well, but underneath I was a mess. I was drinking. I had a ton of anxiety, depression, lots of stuff going on. Relationships were damaged. I was operating at 30% capacity. Once I removed alcohol from my life, this kind of inflection point happened where everything just got exponentially better. And that's what I want for you. And that's the point, really, because you're watching this because you don't feel right. You feel that something is wrong. You're not falling down drunk. You're not missing work, as I say, not living under a bridge or anything like that, but you know that something is wrong under the surface. It's like, if you're driving a car, you hear that knocking sound in the engine, you think, oh man, that doesn't sound healthy. That's kind of where you're at the moment. And basically what it is, it's the nagging sense that you have perhaps lost control. Again, to continue the car analogy, it's like, you're going downhill and you're starting to pump the brakes a bit and you think, oh man, I'm not slowing down as much as I thought. So that's the place that you need to kind of get hold of this, because otherwise we're going to have a crash. And in terms of your drinking, I'm guessing that you're, maybe it's in the evenings, you get to 7 p.m, you're thinking, oh, I'll just have 1 or 2 drinks. And then it gets to 11 and you've had 6 or 7 drinks, and they're kind of home measures rather than, the single measure that you would get in the bar. They're like 4 times that. So you've probably drunk quite a lot by the end of the evening, and it's easy done. But the problem with that is why you have this sense of unease is I'm guessing that there's a number of things that are taking place in your life, such as a slow decline in your performance at work or your performance running your business. There's probably a decline in your relationships as well. And this just doesn't happen overnight. It took work and it took practice. And that's where I come in. That's where I can help you. Because that sharp and confident person that you used to be, many years ago, I'm guessing that person is perhaps you're a shadow of that person that was there some years ago. The good news is if you're circling the drain a little bit, we can stop that and that person will come back. Now, I'm not suggesting that you're going to be, 20 years old again, but you will have, instead of operating at 20, 30% capacity, you'll be operating at, 80, 90% capacity. And you can only imagine the results that you're going to have. And as I've said in previous videos, the journey is in 3 particular stages. There's the first honeymoon period, which is actually quite easy to do, that initial period of abstinence. Then we've got this long middle period that's hard, and that's when most people quit. 90% of people will quit in that phase. And then we've got the final road to freedom, if you like, and that's the point where you hit this inflection point and suddenly your results just kind of go bang up, in a steep kind of hockey stick. So the rewards are worth it, but we've got to get through this middle kind of suck period. And that's where I come in. That's why I set this whole thing up. That's the hard bit. And we flip it from basically a 90% failure rate to a 90% success rate. Before we go on here, let's make a distinction, okay? There is alcoholism, which is the chemical dependency, which you rely, these are the people, the stereotypical people that kind of, wake up in the morning and immediately swig from a bottle of vodka. And, these are the people that when they stop, they're in danger of having seizures and all of this kind of really bad stuff. I'm guessing you're not at that stage. If you are, I'm sorry, I'm not really able to help you because I'm not a doctor. You need medical help, but this is more for the people that have problem drinking or an alcohol use disorder, I think they call it now. This is the sweet spot of people that I work with, is this middle group of people that are in that problem phase, but haven't sort of plummeted off the cliff yet. But make no mistake, that lies in your future if you don't get a handle on this, because you've been thinking about this for a long time and it's going to get worse. It's a progressive thing that over time, your drinking has got worse over time. So where do you think this ends up? And the problem is there's a huge cost of inaction. It's that opportunity cost of what you could be doing, but more so this gray zone, as I call it. This is one of the most dangerous phases because everything feels and looks kind of normal. Outwardly, you have a normal life. You're functioning, you're getting through work, you're still performing. But there will come a point, there's a tipping point where all of that stops. And once you hit it, it's like falling off a cliff, and you don't want to get to that point. And in fact, I know you don't want to get to that point because you're watching this video, you found it, and you're ready to do something about it. So if you are ready to do something about it, this is the whole framework that I set up, the Clear Mind, Clear Life framework. There's an entire program that I've built over the last 10 years because, believe me, I've seen everything. I had all kinds of issues myself trying to get a handle on drinking. So I quit in 2017. I had all kinds of ups and downs along the way, and I've managed to distill this system down into a kind of 6-month program where the majority of that work happens in the first 3 months, and then the final 3 months are kind of cementing these habits. So what does that look like? There's 2 ways we can do it. The first way is a much more kind of premium service. This is aimed at, I guess, if you've got a bit more money, because I'm just going to be honest, it's thousands of dollars, but it's 6 months worth of work. So you're getting something for your money, but it's for people that maybe run their own business, are, C-suite, or have a very strong kind of job where they need a guarantee kind of you will not drink kind of solution. And I will make sure I'll work with you on a one-to-one basis where that will not happen. I will make sure you don't drink. And then once you're strong enough and you get past that period, you're then able to kind of help yourself a bit more. And that's where we start putting these associations in your mind, and we start unpicking the kind of bullshit that's been happening with the drinking, because you didn't get to drinking overnight. It was put into your head through marketing and associations and all these kinds of things. And that's what we work on. We unpick that by putting kind of new, more empowering beliefs in there. But anyway, so that's one solution. The other solution is much more affordable for the general population, and that is a much cheaper option. And you can also pay it over a couple of months if you want as well. And that consists of, again, it's 6 months we'll work together. You get the course and the program materials, but most of it you're going to work through yourself. But we get a Monday and a Friday webinar, I guess, or like a group call. You can be anonymous in that as well. You don't need to out yourself. You don't even need to say anything if you don't want. You're not going to appear on video. You can just ask questions in text format, type to me, and I'll answer the questions. And we have a group session where we talk about maybe issues that you're having, how the program's helping, maybe some parts are not clear, or whatever. Anything you want to talk about, we talk about in these meetings. They go for about an hour. Sometimes they go for 2 hours. It's just until people are until they've had enough, really, and they've got all their questions answered. This is on a Monday and a Friday, so it's kind of bookending the week. Friday, get you straight for the weekend. Monday, get you straight for the week. So that's how it works. So if you like the sound of that, you can click the link in the pinned comment. That will take you to a landing page. On that page, there will be a video. You can watch that video, and that'll tell you some more information. But under that is a button that says apply, and that will take you to a questionnaire where you can just answer a few questions. That comes directly to me, and I'll make a decision whether we can help you or not based on what you're saying. And I will then reach out to you either via phone or via email, whatever you prefer, and we can have a chat and see which of those options would work best for you. And here is something that you can do now, you can do today to start this process. So obviously the program is comprehensive. There's, hours and hours and hours of things to work through together. But here's just one thing that you can do tonight now for free. So when you're having one of your trigger points, whether that's 5 p.m., which was a big one for me, or 7 p.m., and you think, I really want to drink. When you get that feeling, we all know that feeling. I want you to just stop for a minute and just sit in that feeling. And it's unpleasant. And, you may need to set a reminder on your phone so you don't go into autopilot. But just think for a second, what am I trying to achieve here? Now, what I mean by what am I trying to achieve? A lot of times we are squashing a feeling of some sort. And that's not to say, some really strong feeling. It might just be, I'm tired, I'm hungry, I'm upset, I want to celebrate. It could be anything. I don't know what it is because we haven't worked together, but there'll be something in your mind where you think, I am drinking because I want to relax this evening. But maybe that's not, if we work together, we'll peel back the onion a bit, but let's not get too in the weeds here with this. Try and identify what that feeling is. And then what I want you to do is write it down, either on your phone or pen and paper. And what that does is it's kind of like a pattern interrupt, and it's going to kind of interrupt that sort of prefrontal cortex part of your brain that is going to break an autonomous behavior and make you look at it a bit more critically. So you're not going to do something in the moment. You're not acting off that autonomous system. That this is linked to things like when you need to go to the toilet, or when you want a glass of water, or when you want to eat something. There's all of these kind of autonomous behaviors that we have that this is all linked to. So what you want to do is, the first step to breaking it is to kind of understand it. And generally when I'm working with people, one of the biggest thing that they struggle with is they don't know what their life looks like free from alcohol. That's one of the fears. It was one of my fears, is you don't know how the world looks without you drinking. And it's kind of scary because drinking becomes part of your identity. It's who you are. You meet the guys and you get drunk, or maybe you're at home and you're pouring whiskey or whatever your poison of choice is. But just think for a minute, if you can, what your life would look like. Because imagine waking up every morning without that hangover feeling, without that fuzzy feeling, without maybe the anxiety, without the regret. Maybe you did or said something stupid the night before. None of that's going to be there. You're going to be 100 times sharper. You're going to be way more engaged. You're going to be way more present. And as we all know, you want to be there for your kids. You want to be there for your wife. You want to be there for your business, your job, for yourself. There's all of these things that you want to be there for. And alcohol is basically fucking that up. You just need to think about what you're going to gain from this. Because whilst you're drinking, you are mentally disengaged from life. What you want to be doing is, rather than reacting to life, you want to be out there shaping the life around you and your family. And alcohol is fucking that up completely. It's making you its bitch. I'm sorry, but it is. And what you need to understand is that it's going to continue. It's going to get worse and worse and worse. And it's going to continue squashing your self-confidence, squashing your self-worth, squashing your ability to perform and enjoy life. We have 80 years on this planet if we're lucky. You don't want to be spending those 80 years at the service of something, potentially evil. It's, maybe it's not a coincidence that they're called spirits. So if this has resonated with you and you're at that point where enough is enough and you're ready for some actual change, or ready for a transformation away from being a drinker to somebody that's kind of crushing life, then what I want you to do is click the link in the pinned comment, go through the video, go through the questionnaire. It'll come directly to me. I'll be in contact with you within 24 hours. I'll talk you through both options. If they're right for you, great. If they're not, no problem. But anyway, I look forward to meeting you, and I hope you make the right decision, and I will see you in the next one.